Hey y'all, Stephen Burns here, and we're back for episode 16 of Building with Breven. I say we, but actually this week it is just me. I'm flying solo, and Brian is enjoying some time off in Amsterdam, actually. So he is abroad and enjoying some much needed vacation. So, anyways, we didn't want to miss a beat, didn't want to miss a week, and so I am going to take this episode and try to provide as much value as I can to you guys with just being by myself. So see how it goes. And you guys feel free to give me any sort of feedback after you listen to this. So um, this week, though, I want to talk about something that we've kind of touched on other podcasts, but I just don't think we can talk about it enough. And I think our listeners really like to hear it based on the stats that we're seeing from the podcast analytics. So it's going to be a very value packed episode, and we'll try to keep it basically a quick hitter. Only one person to talk, so I'll do my best here. But anyways, without further ado, let's jump into episode 16. This one is going to be all about the different value that different builders bring. So value is a huge equation, and each builder is providing different values, and that's why they are all different prices. So as you shop builders in your local market for your particular custom home on your particular lot that has never been built before, you're going to get prices all over the board. And it's really, really hard to compare apples to apples. And with that, that's why I wanted to make this episode to touch on that a little bit and just give you guys some builder insight into that so you know exactly what to expect when you're potentially price shopping builders or trying to wrap your head around and make sense of where all these builder prices are coming from and why they're different. It's the same home, it's the same lot, but there's just so many equations that go into it. So that's basically what we're going to talk about today. And I've got a couple points here, and I'm going to walk you guys through something really cool. It's called the value equation. And I'll tell you, I stole it from Alex Hormozi. So people who are familiar with him, hopefully you guys already know about this, but if you don't, I'm happy to share it. And I want to give him full credit for the equation, but I'm going to plug it into how it relates to custom home building. So stay tuned, listen to the full episode so that you get the full value there. No pun intended, since this episode is all about value, but listen to the end, and I can guarantee you're going to have better insight on what to look for when you're shopping a custom builder. So, first of all, I want to preface this by saying that value or pricing that custom builders are going to send for your build will be variable on a lot of different factors. Now, one that I want to just cut off the top real quick is going to be different materials and, different trades that they're going to use or labor that they're going to use for your home, right? All of that stuff is not created equal. Of course, if you're doing Tyvek on the outside or thermoply or something like that, which is a lower end product for waterproofing, for those of you who aren't familiar, versus a builder that's using Zip System as their standard. Zip System is arguably one of the best waterproofing membranes on the exterior of your home. So I want to use that as an example because that is a different range there. And a builder that's using Tyvek or Thermoply or any of those other inferior products to waterproof your home are really not a good comparison to a builder that's going to use the best in the top of the line materials, right? So that's a quick hit on materials, but not only that, of course, the labor that they're using for your home. I think everybody knows that, when it comes to tile or flooring or whatever, you can select your own materials, but if there's a bad installer on that, you can't save good materials. So um, it's one thing to pick the best materials in the business or the best materials that are in front of you, but if you have an awful installer, and you're cutting prices to get the cheapest installer in the business and the cheapest guy that would take the job, they're probably not going to be the best quality, and they're probably not going to be good on their timeline either. They're probably going to call you and, my truck broke down, or I'm hungover today, or whatever their excuse is, right? But they're going to have excuses left and right because most of the time those people are not professionals and are not the ones that you want building your custom dream home. So like I said, that's a quick touch on just materials and labor alone. And it's hard to compare those things apples to apples. Materials, a little bit, a lot of builders should have their standards broken out to say this is what we build with standard. It's zip system, it's post tension foundation or whatever. Um, but the labor is the tough part. It's tough to evaluate how good a frame crew is, or how good a tile installer is, or how good a drywall crew or a painter is, right? They could have different prices, and just because they're charging the most doesn't mean they're the best, right? So I think that it's really important to differentiate there, that you want to go with a reputable and trusted builder, and somebody who you trust in your gut to make the right decisions and use the right materials and labor to build your home that is going to meet or exceed your expectations and your quality. So just want to start there. But now let's jump into a way that you actually can, in my opinion, try to evaluate different builders based on this value equation that I'm going to propose to you. So the value equation, let's start there. The value equation looks like this. So you start with value. Value is equal to, and it's a top of the equation and then a bottom. So it's a multiplication over a division. I will also post this value equation so that you guys have a visual of it in the show notes. And hopefully, if you guys are watching this video, I'll post it somewhere on the screen so you can catch that too. But the value equation is basically value equals your dream outcome times the perceived likelihood of achievement divided by time delay times effort in time. So I know that's a lot. I know if you're listening in your car or somewhere to this podcast, that's hard to wrap your head around. So what I want to do is I want to talk through each one of those points and show you basically what that would look like and how that relates to custom home building and what we're doing to maximize the value to each and every one of our clients or our homeowners. What I'm going to do is break it down step by step. I'm going to also identify the absolute max value in this equation from a home builder's perspective, just to set the absolute upper limit. I could also break it down and tell you the absolute lower limit, and give you those two bookends, and then we'll tell you exactly how we're trying our best to achieve the upper limits of this value equation. So more value, of course, is always going to be better. And more value comes at really focusing in on this value equation. So, like I said, want to go back and just thank Alex Hormozi. He is a brilliant minded business entrepreneur. He came up with this equation. He's all over social media. If you want to search for him, he's got some great content for those of you other entrepreneurs out there, or even just people that want to dig further into this value equation. So anyways, now let's jump back forward to the value equation. If we are trying to maximize value, then we want to maximize the top of this equation and minimize the bottom of this equation. So any division problem, if you put 0 at the bottom, your answer is infinite. So that is the ultimate goal. The lower you can make your denominator or your bottom number in this equation, the better off this value is going to be. So let's start at the top. Let's talk about dream outcome. The dream outcome of any custom build would be getting that client into their dream home. So that looks different for everybody, but getting them into their dream home. And that includes quality, that includes every last detail that is in their heads that we have to somehow get them to communicate out to us, or we have to ask questions to dig that out of them. So it's the quality, it's the expectations, it is putting all those pieces together to produce a quote unquote, which there is never this, but quote unquote, a perfect home, perfect dream home for these clients. So that would be the dream outcome, is a dream home that they want, right? And like I said, that can be different for everybody. Dream home doesn't have to be a 10,000 square foot mansion on a lake lot, and I mean, some people don't want that, right? And some people are very realistic about their dream, and that is what we're referring to here. So their dream outcome, which has to be realistic, is that dream outcome portion of this equation. Then the next thing, so that dream outcome is multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, perceived likelihood of achievement. Let's break that down. Basically, how likely the clients feel that this outcome is going to be achieved. So they have their dream outcome now identified. The builder knows about it. Everybody's on the same page. What confidence does the client have that that builder that they've selected is going to give them that dream outcome that they're looking for? That is the perceived likelihood of achievement. And I want to just tie that back into what we always talk about is that's where it goes to really trusting the builder that you choose, right? You have to be able to trust them. And that is that perceived likelihood of achievement. Now, dream outcome times perceived likelihood of achievement, that's the top of the equation. We want to maximize both of those as a builder. So we want to give you that dream home that you're looking for. And we also want to do that by making you feel confident and reassuring you every step of the way. And that's a big part of expectations that we can set as a builder to make you confident that you're going to get that dream outcome. So that's the top of the equation. Now let's break that down and let's go to the bottom of the equation, which is time delay, number one, in effort and sacrifice. So time delay, of course, if we could snap our fingers as a builder and say, we can have you in your dream home today, right now, get your moving truck ready because the home is ready for you on your lot, your dream home, that would be almost a zero time delay. You can basically snap your fingers and be into your dream home. So that is minimizing that time delay in maximizing this value equation. Now, of course, let's be real here. No home has ever been built in one day that I'm aware of. And if it is, it's not a home that you probably want to live in for the long term. It might be an overnight something, right? Or an outdoor shelter, but it's not going to be a dream home. So that time delay is what we're constantly working on as a builder to be as efficient as possible so that we can delay or reduce the delays throughout the construction process and really be an efficient builder to get you into that home as quickly as possible. Now, that is so complex, but every builder does that differently. And we can talk through that more. But a good question to ask your builder would be, how long does it take you guys on average to build a home of this size? And do you have results that we can see and some way for them to quantify that and really be able to compare one builder to the next? Okay, not to get off topic though. So we had time delay times the effort and sacrifice required by the client. So effort and sacrifice in a custom home building perspective, effort and sacrifice would most likely look like homeowners having to put in a lot of their own work. They would have to make all of the selections on their own. They would have to be organized on their own. They would have to micromanage the builder and call and ask for updates because nothing's getting done. They would have to contact people left and right, not only the builder, but maybe trades even, or materials or vendors or suppliers. As you can see where I'm going with this, that is a lot of effort from the homeowner's perspective. When you start looking at it from that way, time is money. And if you're the client paying this custom home builder and they're not doing what they're supposed to, that's a lot of effort and a lot of stress and a lot more resources from your pocket that you have to dedicate to this build. So effort and sacrifice, we're always trying to minimize that. I would say sacrifice, another thing that goes into this would be money, right? The least amount of money possible to achieve that dream home that you want. If we could say minimize the time and minimize the money and the effort required by a homeowner to say, look, here's the optimal thing. We can get you into your home today. We can also do it for $1 or let's say zero, right? $0. We're just going to give it to you. And the sacrifice that would be required or the effort would be required from the client would be zero. I mean, they're getting their dream home today for no money. They don't have to ask any questions, don't have to manage anything, don't have to do anything on their own, right? So the builder takes care of all that. So I tell you that extreme because that is the ideal scenario, which is also impossible. But that sets the denominator of this equation practically at zero, which provides infinite value and really drives this equation up. So we're constantly thinking about this, like I said, as a premier custom home builder to wrap our heads around how can we drive more value to each and every one of our clients. So I kind of touched on it, but let's go back through and let's just maximize and minimize this equation just to set that upper and lower bookend, like I was talking about, give you those boundaries, and then recap this whole thing and hope that you guys have taken some good little tidbits from this. Okay, so looking at that equation again, value equals dream outcome times perceived likelihood of achievement. So let's focus there first. And let's start with the lower limit. So the absolute worst building experience you could imagine in zero value from your builder would look like this. All right, so no value would have to equal you don't even get anything close to your dream home, right? It doesn't happen. It doesn't turn out. You had an awful experience. The home is falling apart and it's not anything close to what you had designed or dreamed up in your head and tried your best to communicate to the builder or architect or interior designer. So that would be an awful dream outcome. Times perceived likelihood of achievement. If this builder was arrogant or rude or had awful communication skills or was not responsive or any other thing you can think of, I would argue that your perceived likelihood of achievement would be close to zero. You have very, very little faith that that builder would be able to produce your dream outcome. So another negative there. Going to the bottom of this equation now, so the denominator, time, delay, and effort and time delay times effort and sacrifice. So time delay, let's say your dream home took 15 years to build. That's not something that I think any builder could ever sell anybody on unless it was a one of a kind build. But any normal build, 15 years is absolutely absurd, right? Let's call it 100 years. Nobody would even be alive by the time their home is done. So that would make that exponential. That time delay would be so great that your value would be almost zero. And then times effort and sacrifice. So your effort and your sacrifice as a client, let's say you have to do everything on your own. You're calling the subs because you don't trust your builder. You are making all your own selections. You are organizing everything. You are calling the bank for your own construction loan draws or whatever that looks like. And that is a huge amount of effort from you and very little amount of effort from your builder. And then the sacrifice, let's talk about money and resources. Say you have designed a home that should cost $600,000 for easy numbers. Your builder does it for $6 million. That is an awful amount of sacrifice in monetary value that you would have to incur. So that makes that denominator of the equation a very large number and drives the value down significantly. If you have a huge time delay and also a lot of money and a lot of effort and your resources to get that job done. So hopefully, wrapping that up, that is supposed to be the lower limit of this equation and would have a very little, almost zero value score. Now, let's switch and let's flip and let's go to maximum value and what we're constantly trying to think about as Breven Homes and what your builder should as well to drive the value up as much as possible and almost make it a number that is very, very large in value or almost infinite, as I keep saying. So the ultimate top bookend, which could be infinite, would look like this. Dream outcome would be your absolutely perfect dream outcome, dream home, every T crossed, every I dotted, all the details exactly like you expected them and exactly like you had dreamed them in your head. That would be this first step. Times perceived likelihood of achievement, every single interaction you had with your builder and throughout the process, in the bank, in every single trade partner, and everybody else that steps foot or had any portion of interaction on your build just gave you the best feeling. You left feeling confident, you left feeling happy, exceeded your expectations is a big thing. That would be a number. Basically, your perceived likelihood of achievement would be through the roof. You would have ultimate confidence in your builder and feel very, very likely that they would achieve your dream outcome. Now, The bottom of the equation on this upper end limit that we're thinking about is going to be, basically, we're looking at time delay. So if we could, like I said, snap our fingers and have you moved into that home tomorrow, not even tomorrow, actually, let's say today, that would be basically a 0 for your time delay. So snap our fingers, you're moving into your dream home on your lot right now. Times effort and sacrifice. You have to produce 0 effort because you're getting your dream outcome right now, and you didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to communicate. You didn't have to have any heartache or stress. You had 0 effort there. And sacrifices in a monetary term. Say we give you the house for free. We say, hey, look, this is zeroed out. Thank you for being you. And here's a free home. That would be 0 amount of sacrifice. So the bottom of the equation would be a 0, a goose egg, which makes the value infinite because the bottom 2 numbers are 0, or anything times 0 is still 0. So time delay or effort and sacrifice, if either one of those is 0, then your value is infinite. So hopefully, recapping this side of the equation, or this end, this is the ultimate value. Now, us as a builder, let's talk through it real quick and what your builder can do as well to drive more value here. So top of the line value would equal, in our opinion, the dream outcome. So your builder is doing everything they can with their team or their interior selections, or designers, architecture, all that stuff. Everything that builder has pulled together in their team and in their interactions with you is ultimately there to help you achieve that dream outcome of your dream home on your lot. It is a tough thing to do as a builder. We're not mind readers. I don't think anybody is. But it's something that we have to do our best, and the clients have to do their best to communicate to us. And anytime there's communication involved, and this much communication to build a sometimes million or multi-million-dollar home, there's a lot of room for error there. So the better communication your builder has, the more organized they are. All of that goes into dream outcome, which is your dream home. Now, I also tied a little bit of that in already, but your perceived likelihood of achievement. How organized is your builder? Are they using construction management software to keep everything above the table and very transparent? Is their communication stellar? Is it a 24-hour guarantee that if you contact me, we will have 24 business hours to get back to you with an answer, right? Or some sort of update? What are they doing to make you feel better about that perceived likelihood of achievement? And for us, we also guarantee our results. So we have a guarantee that we are going to build your home on time and on budget. And that guarantee gives people that peace of mind, and also makes their perceived likelihood of achievement go up significantly, because not only are we telling you that, not only can you call our other homeowners and ask them that and they'll vouch for it, but we can also guarantee it as a business that if we don't do these things, then there's recourse and you get some sort of compensation for us not achieving or hitting those guarantees. So that's all part of that perceived likelihood of achievement and helps us to get to that dream outcome. So on the bottom of the equation, we have time delay. And time delay from a builder perspective is, ideally, we manage your build as efficiently as possible, and we put the right trades and construction managers and everybody else in place so that we can build your home as quickly as possible, but also with good quality. So that's why we use the word efficiently, because it's not quick. Quick gets the wrong connotation there, and efficient is a better use of the term. So we build as efficiently as possible by using the best resources in our tool chest, basically, our toolbox. So time delay, we're always working on that, and to minimize basically the time delays and ultimately the time to get you into your dream home. Now we multiply that to get effort and sacrifice on the bottom. Effort and sacrifice, our goal is that when a client hires us to build their dream home, we are able to do that with minimal effort involved from them. Most of our clients have lives, they have jobs, they have families, they have other places they want to spend their money and time, and they don't want to be micromanaging the build for the most part, and there's that couple that want to be all hands on deck. But for the most part, people hire us because they don't want to build their own custom home. They don't know how to. They want our expertise, and they want to have the least amount of effort, but also just have that trust in their builder that things are going to get done right and going to get done timely and within their budget. So that's the effort part, and sacrifice would be, in my opinion, basically the least amount of money possible. Now, that's a tough one. As you start cutting money, you also start cutting potentially quality and speed. So that's a trifecta there that we're always playing around with. But the least amount of money as possible. So basically, we're trying everything we can as a builder to mitigate cost overruns or poor management, which results in theft or vandalism or other things that suck money and don't have a clear way to, point the finger at somebody. Basically, it's falls back on the builder. And those are the kind of things that the builder has to manage efficiently and effectively to mitigate. And that really helps overall. But the other thing with the money is that um, the builder should have established relationships with trade partners, vendors, builder accounts set up with lumber companies and concrete companies and all that good stuff, so that they're getting preferential pricing as opposed to a independent person that walks into a concrete company and says, "Hey, I'm trying to pour a foundation." Um, so the builder provides a lot of value there, that as they have more experience and more time in the business and are able to leverage some relationships more, they're able to get preferential pricing. So that helps with that money aspect as well. And that's a huge resource from clients' perspective. So all that, tying it all back in, that's what we're constantly focused on, trying to maximize the top of the equation and minimize the bottom of the equation, so that we can drive as much value to our clients as possible. And any builder that you seek to build your custom home, I would challenge you to keep this value equation in mind and see how they stack up on each component. If you're unsure, or if there's things that they're telling you that sound fishy, dig into it more. And if you dig into it more and it still sounds fishy or still gives you a little bit of uneasiness, go find somebody else, right? That's the best piece of advice I can tell you. But this value equation is very important, because every builder is going to price their products differently. They're going to have different markups. They're going to have different everything about how they price a custom project. And it's so hard to compare apples to apples. So hopefully this value equation helps you have some sort of checklist, or basically a benchmark to compare them all to. So overall, I just want to thank you guys a bunch for listening to not only this episode, but all of our episodes. I hope this episode 16 by myself wasn't just 30 minutes of me rambling. I hope you guys found value in this. And if you did, please do us a favor and subscribe or follow us, or like our content on social media, and especially the platform you're listening on. Every one of them calls it something different, but if you can subscribe and if you can throw us a rating or a review, that would be even better. We're extremely grateful for 5-star reviews there. It helps us get the word out to more people that are building a custom home or want to build a custom home. And we just hope that our content provides value and knowledge to those folks. So the best way we can do that is to ask you guys for that favor. So thank you once again. And thank you for listening to me for the last 30 minutes of your time. We don't ever take that for granted. And since it is almost Thanksgiving, I hope you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving with friends, family, loved ones. And we'll catch you guys on the next podcast.